Welcome to the Growth Lab, a trusted space for parents navigating their child's developmental journey. I'm Luba, Patlakh, a speech-language pathologist, myofunction therapist, child and family advocate, and a mom of three. For the last 15 years, I've worked with more than 150,000 children and their families, helping parents understand what they're seeing, what it means, and how to move forward with confidence. This podcast is for parents who want clear, credible guidance when information feels overwhelming or decisions feel heavy. Here, we break down speech, feeding, breathing, learning differences, attention, IEPs, and more in practical, easy to understand ways alongside trusted experts. My goal is simple, and it's to help you feel informed, supported, and confident as you advocate for your child. You're in the right place, so let's begin. Welcome back to the Growth Lab podcast. And if you're a parent, you already know this truth. When childcare falls apart, everything else falls apart with it. Work becomes nearly impossible, stress skyrockets, and families end up constantly scrambling just to hold things together. As a mom of three and the founder of Kidology, where we support children with developmental needs every single day, I see firsthand how much families rely on strong support systems around them. Today, I'm joined with Beth Hayer, entrepreneur, agency founder, and mentor to women building service-based businesses across the country. Beth is the founder of Babysitting Connection, a membership-based agency redefining how families find trusted care. She's also the founder of Babysitting Connection and Beth Hayer Consulting, where she helps agency owners launch, scale, and systemize without burning out. What I love about Beth's work is that she's not just building businesses, she's building infrastructure for families. And if you're a parent, caregiver, or entrepreneur trying to build something meaningful while raising a family, this conversation is for you. Beth, welcome to the Growth Lab.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you, girl. Obviously, before we get into scaling agencies and building systems, I always just love to start at the beginning. Okay. So what made you realize that families needed a better way to find childcare?
Right. When I had my babies, I was living in Columbus, Ohio. I'm now in Austin, Texas. And in Columbus, I had this really great network of moms, and we kind of developed this incredible network of babysitters. We it felt like we had half the Ohio State nursing school on our roster, right? Like we had this great network of moms and we were finding great babysitters, and but we were still playing the game where we're like, we text 4 girls, see who's available. And then they're like, well, I can do 5:30 instead of 5, blah, 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 that whole game. But we had a really great team. And I was a stay-at-home mom, but I had 2 under 2, and I basically had a part-time nanny. I needed help, and I knew for my mental health, I needed care. And becoming a mom, I really became a big fan of moms and a proponent of moms and a supporter of moms. So when my kiddos were not very old, about 2 and 3, we moved to Austin, and I found an incredible network of moms, but I really struggled to find the babysitters. And I was getting babysitters referred to me, and I was finding them on Facebook, and they were just not it. They weren't good. They weren't what I wanted. And it got to a point where I was ready to go back to work. I knew I didn't want to work for anybody else again. And I thought, you know what, I think I can make something better. I think I can make something better than what's out there. So I started Babysitting Connection 6 years ago. We launched 6 weeks before COVID, which was super fun.
Fabulous.
And we've just continued to grow and grow ever since. We're now we're in 5 cities now, and we've added pet sitting to our roster. And then it's just continued to grow with my consulting business, where I realized that there's a lot of nanny agencies out there that want to add babysitting, and I help them do that. And then I also help women who just want to start a babysitting agency from scratch. I help them grow. So we've launched one in Washington, D.C., Cherry Blossom Sitters, and then we're going to be launching our second here in Vancouver, Washington soon.
This is amazing. This is such a unique niche, but so needed, especially from the perspective of a person who works with children and has 3 children. And over time, I feel like early on, you know what it is? There's a stigma. People are like, oh, you're going to have a nanny to raise your kid. Like, that's so, But it's not that day and age anymore. I think everyone's working, hustling so hard, making life, because everything's more expensive, everything's moving faster. And if someone else can drive my kid to dance and I don't have to sit there and like I can spend that time continuing to work on what I'm working on, that is such a blessing.
Yep.
So what you're doing is literally God's work in its own way, girl. Good job.
I'm such a anti-mommy martyrdom person. Like, you do not need to.
You don't need more guilt than you already have. This is supposed to be helpful, right?
And it's the old, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first. We all see it as parents. When you're tired, when you're burnt out, when you're stressed, you are not the parent that you want to be.
1,000%.
And giving yourself grace and allowing, someone to come in and help with your kiddos, or someone to come in and help with your laundry or clean your house or whatever that may be. If that gives you sanity and you have the capacity to do that, like, I would rather have my sanity than more money in the bank.
Oh, 1,000,000%. What about, like, so obviously reliable childcare isn't a luxury, it's an infrastructure for families. Is there, when did you realize it could actually become a business?
I went into this, and I talk a lot about this too, is this was never a side hustle. I knew from the day I started this that this was going to be what was going to eventually pay my bills. So I always went in it with the mindset that this is going to succeed, this is going to work, and this is going to pay my bills eventually. So we did everything right from the beginning, whether it be LLC to researching the software and the structure and the marketing. I pulled from my 401k to invest into starting the business. So I knew from the beginning that I was going to make this work. I'm a pretty determined person. Like I said, COVID happened, and honestly, it was a blessing in disguise for us, because what people needed more than anything during COVID was safe, reliable childcare, because the schools weren't open and the daycares weren't open.
And you still had to work remotely. So, like, what do you do with your kid?
Yep. So we originally launched as I thought we were just going to be date nights, a couple sits a month. And we very quickly created a much larger package and an unlimited package, because families were using us for their full-time childcare needs.
Awesome.
And it was, they didn't need a nanny. We knew we hoped it wasn't going to last forever, right? So we were kind of the perfect fit for that. But it forced us to pivot very early on also, from what we thought we were going to be.
I mean, childcare is just one of those things families don't think about until suddenly they're like desperate. They're like, oh my God, like with COVID, what are we going to do? We have to work. We can't plop the kids in front of the TV all day. We're going to forget to feed them. Like, they're human beings. Like, who's going to take care of these kids? So that is, I love how it went for you. And I love that you were ready for it. What do you feel are some of the biggest challenges that families are facing when it comes to finding reliable childcare?
Just not having portals and
no access.
No,
right?
yeah. And everybody, if you're a mom and you've been on Facebook, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's all these babysitter Facebook pages. There's 4 in every city, right? And sitters go on and say, I'm available Saturday night. And then families go on and say, I have a 2-year-old and I'm looking for someone, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
And then it's just,
every day.
and then you're all sending these messages. And then it is just, the reputation of Facebook is that you're just going to get ghosted, right? They're going to ghost you mid-process, or they're going to
like, it's a creepy time in the world. I'm scared of, I don't know.
Right?
I'm scared to sell furniture to someone.
Right.
It's
a random purchase.
We can't trust. And that's why it makes you feel more comfortable when people are vetted.
Right. So, there's still families that go like, well, why would I pay you? I can do this for free. For starters, our starting rate is, you can join us for a month and book 3 sits a month for $35, right? Like, we're not, if you can afford a babysitter, our membership's not breaking the bank. But we allow you access to our entire vetted roster of sitters. We have 300 babysitters. We're interviewing them, background checking them, driving record, CPR, certified 18 and over, valid driver's license, all those things. Also, families can leave reviews on sitters. Sitters can leave reviews on families. So we're monitoring that. If we get a review that a sitter was on their phone or showed up late, we address that immediately. And I'm not going to keep those sitters on my team that are not consistently performing, because that's my reputation and that's 300 other babysitters' reputation.
Oh my God. So,
we're getting rid of those sitters that don't show up. We don't have sitters not show up. And due to our structure, if a sitter, we had a sitter text us this morning and said, hey, my grandma's sick. I'd really like to go out of town and see her this weekend. Can someone cover my sit for Saturday? Absolutely.
She gave you notice. There's a, it was professionally handled. Yes.
Absolutely. And I have a whole roster of other sitters. So I can reach out to the family and say, hey, don't you worry about it. We got your date night still covered. We're going to have to switch up the sitter. They had a situation, and we can get them covered. The family's not panicking. The family's not scrolling their phone, going on Facebook.
Right.
Also, it eliminates that, can you meet at a coffee shop to talk for a little bit? Can you meet at a coffee shop? Can you come over? And families and sitters are spending all of this time kind of interviewing, and then maybe you sit for a family one time, and then your schedules never line up. So, I think there's a lot of moms that are like, well, I just want one sitter who can sit for me date nights and dates. That's a unicorn, right? There's never going to be one person who's available every time you need care.
Right.
So we encourage our families to get to know 2 to 3 sitters, right? And everyone on our sitter is vetted. They have paid childcare experience. So every sitter might not be the perfect fit for your family. Every sitter might not be the one that vibes with your 9-year-old the best, right? But everyone is going to be safe and reliable, and they're going to be able to care for your children. I love that. Right?
You're giving them the one-stop shop. You're the middleman between the mom and the coffee shop thing. Yeah. And you already know these people, and then you kind of just like match them up to the need of the family. And I think that's amazing because you have an ongoing availability of people.
Always. It is very rare if we can't fill a sit.
Wow. Is there anything that you feel that families misunderstand about finding good childcare?
Oh, man. I think there is a subset of families that think it should be cheap. You see a lot like, my kids are easy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's still, I am a big believer in like paid living wage, all of the things.
Of course.
Fair work for fair pay. Our rates, we're in Austin, Texas, start at $20 an hour. That's where they are all across the country for us. That's what we think is fair. And that's what kind of the market demands. We're not being a nanny. A nanny is going to demand a little bit more than that. But I think families kind of see it as cheap. And if you do the math, a daycare might only be $6 or $8 an hour, but that's a much different thing.
That's a different thing.
And for families who work,
daycare is not available for a date night. Sorry.
Right. And for families who work 9 to 5, that's great. But we have families who are nurses and firefighters and all of these different things that have these schedules that don't work with a typical 9 to 5. And the U.S.'s childcare system is not structured to handle the mom who works till 10 o'clock.
You've just hit the nail on the head with that comment, because one thing I really admire about your model is that it's so community driven. You're not focused on just 9 to 5. This is what's available. Yes, you have a subset for that, but you're like, hey, we have so many lifestyles. This is about the community. So how does the Babysitting Connection actually work? Like, tell us, if I'm a customer, I give you a call or I sign up online. So then I have to buy a membership.
Yep.
How does it work with vetting the caregivers?
So you go to babysittingconnection.com. You pick your level of membership. So we have 3 sits a month, 10 sits a month, or unlimited sits a month. So you pick whichever one you want. You can always upgrade, downgrade. Like I said, the 3 sits a month is $35.
That's super affordable.
Yeah. So you create your membership. You tell us a little bit about your family, your kiddos, how old they are, what their favorite things are, if there's anything we need to keep an eye out, what bad behavior looks like, what good behavior looks like, if you have pets. And you're going to tell us kind of like, do you have a dog? Do you have a cat? What ages are your kiddos? And then what part of town you live in. And then you're only even going to be shown sitters that match your criteria, that are comfortable with dogs, that are comfortable with 1-year-olds, and that are willing to travel to that specific market. Okay. So you're not seeing 50 sitters and kind of have to sort through and go, I wonder if they'll cover South Austin, whatever. You're only seeing the sitters that match your criteria. And then we even take it another level. Our sitters set up their availability. So you're only seeing sitters that are actually available at the time that you're looking for.
Good.
And we kind of go back and forth with that model. There's pluses to it and minuses to it. It involves the sitter having to keep their schedule up to date. So we kind of go back and forth with that one. But And then you literally can handpick your sitter. You're going to see their picture, you're going to read their bio, and you're going to see any reviews that a family left on the sitter. So you're going to be able to see that Stacy loves 2-year-olds and did a great job engaging a family's 2-year-old last week. And, you know, she loves Disney movies, and so does your 6-year-old. You can handpick that sitter. They get a request within 24 hours. The sitter confirms it. 99.4% of our sits are accepted from the first sitter. If for some reason the sitter can't take it, or it's a busy weekend, or it's a really weird time, maybe early in the morning or late at night, you can send it to our wait list, and it automatically gets sent out to all the sitters that match your criteria, and it gets picked up. It is really rare that a sit is sitting there for more than 24 hours without it being picked up. So, and then, you know, we're always working. I have a team of 6 where, like, if there is a situation where a sitter is sick or car breakdown or whatever the situation may be, where we can jump in and we're able to automatically get that sit sent out and get it covered for them.
It's very hands-on. And now, is this a custom portal that you've designed?
No, I use I use a software that is kind of designed specifically for this industry.
It's very cool. How do you then support, and you just said a little bit about you jumping in to make sure the sit is covered, but how do you support families while also protecting the caregivers themselves? And I have this in my business too, because I need to be in the best interest of the family and in the best interest of my providers, like the speech therapist, occupational physical working here. And there are things, it's work, it's business, it's life, it's people. But how do you go about protecting the two sides?
Yeah. And you know, this is one thing that I really built this business on, is I want to walk that fine line between being a great place to work and a great place for families to be a part of. Me too. And it's hard. It's hard sometimes, because sometimes you do have to lean in one person's favor. You do. Right? You do. And
you have to say the truth. And even though, like, I always tell my providers, I have your back. Like, even if a parent comes after me and is like, I can't believe this, I have to express that, like, you know, this side is doing what this side's supposed to do. But there are times where this side did something, and I'm like, the parent is right. Because I would be mad too. I'm very realistic about it. But I try not to, like, you can't really throw anyone under the bus to the parent. You got to find, like, a fine-tuned middle.
It's so hard. And
it's very hard.
This is one thing that I've really gotten better at. I used to, like, hear one side and be like, oh, we're going to handle this.
That's it.
Right?
Reactive, emotional.
And then I was like, you know what? So now I always hear both sides of the story. Yes. And I go very you know, like if a family says, you know, hey, they were on their phone the whole time, I will, instead of reaching out to the sitter and be like, why were you on the phone the whole time? I reach out to the sitter and I say, hey, how did your sit with so-and-so go? And the sitter might say, it was great, but I was really stressed out. My mom got into a car accident, like, and I was getting updates. Find out that story. And I'm like, okay. And, you know, and then, you know, I still go back to the family and be like, I'm really sorry. But what she didn't tell you was blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not a typical day for that babysitter. And she has a situation. But then you'll have to go to the sitter and be like, hey, you know, like, maybe mention that.
You could have communicated that.
Yeah. So it's really, I've learned that you got to hear both sides of the story. And there are times where, you know, you have a kid who is hits or kicks, or, you know, and you have to figure out how to go to the family and be like, hey, could your kid not hit my babysitter? You know, and it also is a lot of, like, different families are okay with different things. Like, what I allow of my children, right, is different than what
you gotta tiptoe so lightly there, because you can't parent someone's kid. Right. That is offensive.
And we have a question. We have a question on our thing that says, what does bad behavior look like for your child? Because it's different. So, like, this is, I joke, my children do not ever jump on furniture. Like, you do not sit on the side of furniture. You do not sit on the back of furniture. You do not jump on furniture, right? There are families who let their kids use furniture as a trampoline, and I don't
Please come to my home. Please come. My husband's always like, this isn't a trampoline park. I'm like, oh, the kids are really happy.
It's never been a thing. Like, I've never let my kids do it, and it's just our thing. And my kids, but like, then there's other family, like that's the example I use because like that's bad behavior in my house, right?
For you.
But there's other families where that's not bad behavior at all. That's letting your kids get their energy out. So we really try to create questions in our form, that provides information to the sitters of like, what does bad behavior look like? And then if we see that behavior, how do you want us to handle it? Because, that is just so important, and every family and every child is going to be different. So we've also learned over time to ask those types of questions. I think we totally got away from your original question, but it is hard to balance.
No, that is exactly how you support them. You answered it. Taking a quick break from the episode to share something close to my heart, I wrote a children's book, and it's officially available for pre-order. It's called Bobo Wears a Bowtie, and it's about a little character learning that growth doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be brave. If you're raising a child who's working hard, trying new things, or sometimes feeling unsure of themselves, this book was made for your family. Pre-order yours today at bobowearsabowtie.com. That's BOBO wearsabowtie.com. All right, back to the episode. I think that the best childcare systems will support both sides, and it sounds like that's what you're doing. We have to be there for the families, they're our client, and the caregiver, who is our staff, and like it wouldn't work any other way. And that's why you're so successful, because you are able to see the global picture, and that's really important.
Right.
I want to dive in a little bit to your coaching business. So you also coach agency owners, which is really fascinating, because a lot of women want to start a service business but really don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
What are the biggest mistakes that women are making when they're starting a service-based agency?
Oh my gosh, I have so many.
Yeah.
So I think one is going into it, and I was talking about this with a friend the other day, is this side hustle culture women have. No man has ever had a side hustle. Right. It's not a male term. It's a term that women use because, for whatever reason, and there's a million different reasons, women don't want to just be like, this is my business, and this is going to be like, women feel like they have to shrink.
There's still a big stigma of mommy Susie Homemaker, and when Susie Homemaker wants to make money, it's a side thing because Susie's priority is her family. Right. But in today's day and age, it can be a balance of both, and it's so commendable to say, I have a business.
Yes.
So why make yourself smaller? You're big, and this is amazing.
So that's like my number one tip is like, go all in. Right. Now, it might not be 40 hours a week, right? You might not be able to commit all your time to it, but go into this business with the mindset that this is going to be your career. The end goal is for you to, build a sustainable business. And then I also think that, and I live in Austin, so we are a tech startup thing. I think that people think that you have to raise all this money, and you have to build your own software, and you have to, get all these
totally misconception and like all lifestyle around business, because it's not how it has to go.
I started my business for $40,000. Yeah, I have never taken a penny from anyone else. I don't owe anybody any money, and I shopped software. There is so much software out there these days. You're going to be able to find something, and then these companies that build their software, they say they're a babysitting business, but ultimately they're just a software company, right? They're spending all of their time and money maintaining their software. And my thing is like, I don't want to be a software company. I don't want to work with a developer and try to find bugs and do that. I'd rather pay someone a little bit of money and have them do that. So I think those are the two biggest hurdles, is that it really doesn't cost a ton of money to start a business in the grand scheme of things. And I think basically what I offer to agencies who want to start from scratch is almost like I give you everything you need to start your business. I work with you on everything.
Do you do like the whole playbook, or is it like, hey, you already have this, like you should automate it? Like what type of instruction?
So like my Brittany in Washington, D.C., who started Cherry Blossom Sitters, she already owns a education services business. So she knew a little bit about business and LLCs and that sort of stuff. So, I mean, we did everything. We went from setting up her LLC to researching how she wanted to structure her agency, monthly membership, packages, those sort of things. I sat on 4 or 5 different software demos with her. We built out the pricing. We researched the market, and, I have options for people to build her website and figure out her brand and her logo. I mean, it is start to finish with when I work from an agency from the beginning. And it's cheaper than a franchise, basically. These franchises are like, we'll give you a business, but then you don't own your business and you have a boss
different.
and you're paying royalties for the rest of your life.
So are you working like an hourly consulting, or do they buy a package from you?
I do both. So if you want to start a business from scratch, it's a flat fee. And I say, we're going to do everything. I'm going to work with you for 6 months from start to launch. You pay me a flat rate. At the end of it's your business. You don't owe me a penny.
Yeah. And
then I also have agencies where they're already nanny agencies. And, we talked earlier about COVID changing remote work. It really did change the work structure where families realize they don't necessarily need full-time 40-hour week nanny care, and that they, their jobs are flexible. So that's created a need for more this short-term, temporary babysitter care. So I have a lot of nanny agencies that want to build out babysitting. So in those situations, sometimes they just hire me as a consultant. They book a couple hours with me in a package, and we talk for an hour and go through it. And then I also have a package where it's like we'll work with you to turn your nanny agency into a babysitting agency for a flat rate. So we can do hourly, we can do packages, we can do flat rate. I'm very flexible, and I kind of look at every client individually and say, okay, this is how much I think it'll cost. This is what I think it'll take. This is how much I think your spend is going to be, all of that, and put together a package.
That's like the best handhold. I mean, it's true. Like people who already are in the space are leveling up with this other service. Yep. And then the people who want to start, they literally have a shoulder. They have somebody who is like their business bestie, we like to say, quote unquote, who they're going to work with to get this accomplished, and like one-on-one concierge service.
And I've made all the mistakes. Like I can tell you what I did wrong. I can tell you where I spent money in the beginning that I shouldn't have spent money. I was really focused on like joining networking groups and things like that. And I realized in hindsight, I could have done a lot of that for free. And
you realized what systems you were missing and what you could have done better.
Yes.
Listen, I'm tried and true too. Kidology, the bread and butter of my existence, is a over 10-year-old. In May, it'll be 11-year-old business, brick and mortar, 2-time Inc. 5000 winner. And I've done it all. And people are like, well, why don't you teach scale? And I'm like, I've worked with kids for so long, and I'm now dedicating myself and my personal brand to the parents. Yeah. And that's where I'm tying in the Growth Lab, because I want people to know, parents to know, there's resources, services, other professionals like myself nationwide who are here to service and help you. And like, your company is amazing. And I'm so thrilled that we are not only here for supporting families, but both of us, it seems like, are in this ability to help others scale their lifestyles as well.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in, like, when the waters rise, all the ships rise. There's so much opportunity, and I'm always very open about, like, when I talk in the industry about my numbers and where I am and all that stuff, because I feel like the more information that I can share, the more likely you can be to be successful. And ultimately, like, seeing women grow businesses and thrive and be able to have opportunities and flexibility in their work is just so important to me.
Oh, I love that. I'm curious where you see childcare going in the future.
Oh, man. I don't know.
You're like, oh, God.
I think I would love to go in the direction of some European countries and really think about maternity leave and paternity leave.
How, like, they know how to live over there. I swear. And then you hear it every time and you're just like shocked. I had 3 kids, and I always said to myself, in the early stages, so my oldest child is about to turn 10. And like I told you, my business is going to be 11 soon, but we've been operating really for 10 years. Also, it's just a bit older than my son. And I remember the starting time, and I remember how much I had to put in, and I had to have sitters then too. We were all working. My parents were working, so there was nobody to watch the baby. little by little, and then I had my second child, and I already had a business established, and I already had my first clinic, and things were moving differently, and I had flexibility because I owned it, but I was in such a building phase that I felt bad to stay home because I wanted to make money for those children that were home. And I was like, if I have a third child, I'm going to be home. I had a third child, and I did not stay home because I couldn't, because now the business was like, you know, even further in, and I was really fighting to make it do more. And you just don't, it's false to feel like at some point you'll be able to slow down and like sit home, because we're so motivated and in the zone to get back to work, to make money for our family, to achieve some higher status. And as a woman and somebody who wants to have a career, people can't stop life because they're like, well, I'm not going to get paid if I stay home. Or maybe I'll have a guaranteed job, but like I'm going to be sitting home for 6 months or whatever. While it's amazing, it's not realistic.
Right. And I was lucky that I did get to be a stay-at-home mom for a couple of years. And I realized how valuable and important that time was. And I wish we had some better paternity leave. I wish we had, you know, free preschool for all. And it's one of those things where somebody might be like, well, wouldn't that take away your business? And I'm like, there's always going to be a need for babysitters, right? There's always going to be the stay-at-home mom who's got to go to the doctor, wants to get her nails done, or, you know, just needs a break.
Just needs a minute.
And there's always going to be date
nap.
nights. There's always good. Like, I'm not worried. I'm not trying to fight universal pre-K so I can have more business. Like, no. So,
well,
you know,
I wish need a collective environment as well. And I think that babysitting is an add-on. It's never to replace, in my opinion.
No. So, you know, that's my hope. And as this industry grows, and the nanny agencies have been around for a long time, but I think these babysitting agencies are a lot newer. I hope that people understand our value a little bit more. I think the fact that people think like care.com is free, no, like you're paying them.
What are you talking
and then
about?
they're paying the sitter less than what you are paying them. Like, you know, or they're like, well, I don't want to pay monthly. I'm like, okay, well, use this for the summer and then cancel and then come back next summer, you know? So, you know, care.com is just this anomaly, and I don't even know if it works or how it works.
People miss the point. Paying you, that you're in the system, you're vetted. It's like an on-call anytime. You have those 3, and like, I don't know, I guess maybe they don't carry over month to month, because that would be crazy, because if you didn't use it, you know, you lose it. But that's like... I'm sure they could negotiate that with you. What I'm saying is, like, you buy an activity for your child and they don't make it to karate every single time. You're not going to run after the karate and be like, give me back $25.75 because I didn't go. Hello, you're in the company. You're supporting that business.
It's an insurance policy for when you do get sick.
Exactly right. It's an insurance policy for your needs. And I think people miss that message. They're like, well, I'm paying for a service. I want to get the service. You're in there. You need to now strategize.
I'm not telling you to not go on a date night this month. Go on a date night. I want you to go on a date night.
I think that if people are oriented appropriately to understand the value, they'll never turn it away. But not everybody understands.
Yeah. Once we get a family, they get it. They instantly get it. It makes total sense. It's just like those initial questions. And like, well, why am I paying you? I'm like, because I'm doing all the work.
I saved you so much time thinking, worrying, looking. People don't understand.
Yeah, and I don't take a penny from my babysitters, right? Like, you pay my sitters directly. Like, I'm not taking a cut from them. I'm not skimming off the top of both of you here or anything like that.
Right. That's why you have your other fee in place. Because you have to earn too.
Yeah. So I really hope that this industry continues to grow, and we have some really great advocates for us that, you know, I'm constantly working to spread the word and how we work.
For sure.
You know, our Google reviews and all of those things where people are like, oh yeah, now that I'm here, it makes sense, you know? So I just hope that this industry just kind of continues to grow. And I think the more babysitting agencies across the country, the more our reputation will grow also. Yeah.
I feel like the future of childcare isn't just having more providers, but generally better systems. And I definitely feel like you're presenting a solid A+ system. So if anyone's out there, don't skip here, you know?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit also about, so if you're, like I'm in Philadelphia area, for example, and I wanted to either be an extension of the Babysitting Connection, and you're like placing a body so that they can interview people, or you could, I guess, do it online. How do you go about discovering your next city or somebody that's going to run it?
That's been a really fun learning process for us, and we kind of just revamped how we're doing it. A very dear friend of mine, Katie, is from my hometown, Sandusky, Ohio, and she hit a point. I've always joked to my core girlfriends that we've been with since elementary school. You say the word, and a Babysitting Connection is yours, right? Say the word. And last summer, she goes, "I'll say the word." She's a dental hygienist.
I'm ready.
She's a dental hygienist, and she's just like, I can't do this forever anymore, right? And I want to try to figure out my next step. So we launched Babysitting Connection of Northern Ohio, and we did it a lot different than we've done our other cities. She is our director of Northern Ohio, and she is just constantly feet on the ground, networking, talking to people, posting in the local groups, and we finally feel like we kind of cracked the code, and we figured out the exact how to do it. We've done some other cities where we've just kind of, said we have babysitters there now, and we managed it.
And now you're more established.
Yeah, so we've kind of figured it out. So, so we are going to be launching a new city this year. I can't tell you where it is yet, though. But it was kind of once we figured out what we needed and what that person needed to look like and what their availability needed to look like and how the business could support them and everything. We're going to be launching a new city, and I've been really careful with new cities. I don't personally feel this need to feel like I need to have 20 cities. I'd rather do it really meticulously and with care and make sure that we're providing the quality care in those cities. So we're going to add one more city this year, which I'm very excited about. And I have a pair of directors lined up for that city, launching in the fall. And we've, really started working with them on kind of what has worked and what hasn't and that sort of thing, and kind of replicating what Katie has done. But I'm very specific kind of about the cities I want to launch in. And that's kind of where my coaching came out is I had multiple women who were our members previously in Austin who moved and came to me and said, "We need you here." And I said, I don't want to keep doing this. So that's
and you also can't be at all the places.
Yes.
So that plays a
Yes. I don't want to manage 50 people. I don't. That's not a goal of mine.
You don't?
Not a goal. I already manage 300 babysitters. I don't want to manage, 50 W-2 employees.
Yeah.
So that's where the consulting thing really came out. And my software company at the time was also really encouraging with the consulting as well. Like, people are calling and asking what you're doing. And they were sending them to me, and I was talking to a lot of people, and I was like, I should probably start getting paid for this. So that's where the kind of consulting business came out. But yeah, so it's kind of like when they reached out, I was like, all right, let me help you build something that's yours. And you pay me the consulting fee, and then it's yours, and I'll be there to help support you. But I don't have this. I'm talking about tech in Austin. There's a lot of companies whose sole goal is to scale to sell, right? That's never been my goal. My goal is to grow Babysitting Connection until my 9 and 11-year-old tell me they don't want to run Babysitting Connection, and then I'll make a decision at that time, right? So I have at least, 10 to 15 years left, where they get to decide if they want it first. So because I have that mindset, I'm not as driven by opening newer cities and making it bigger and bigger and bigger. I'd rather be really meticulous and careful about how we run what we run and keep it with the integrity that it has.
No, I mean, that's well said and well done. I mean, I think you're doing a great job. So whatever is in your heart and how you want to expand on it, and I think you found your pathways.
Yeah.
Beth, this conversation really highlights something so important. Childcare isn't just about convenience, it's about family stability. And when parents have trusted support, everything changes. Their careers, their stress levels, and the way that their children are growing up. And what you've built is more than a business. It's a system that's helping families function. Thank you so much for being here today. Where can people find out and learn more about you and your work?
Yeah, so babysittingconnection.com. You can learn about Babysitting Connection. We are in all the major cities in Texas and in Northern Ohio. Pet Sitting Connection, same, major cities in Texas and Northern Ohio. And then bethhire.com is my consulting business where you can learn about how to work with me.
Well, to everyone listening, if this episode resonated with you, share it with a parent, a caregiver, or an entrepreneur who needs to hear it, because when families have the right support systems, everything grows stronger. And that's exactly what the Growth Lab podcast is all about. Thanks for being with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for joining me here at the Growth Lab podcast. I really hope this episode was helpful. If it was, stick around for more episodes by subscribing to the podcast wherever you're listening. And if you know a fellow parent that could use this episode, share it with them. Follow me on Instagram at Luba Patlakh. That's LubaPatlakh for daily advice and resources to keep you informed between episodes. See you next time.